I'll start with a question and then explain some of the detail afterwards. Will the Council work with CamDEAG to examine, with a 30th of June 2021 decision point, building a city portrait database that can be shared with all organisations in the city to devise strategies and guide initiatives to meet these pressing needs? So who are we? CamDEAG, Cambridge Doughnut Economics Action Group. We're an organisation of 50 volunteer members who live or work in Cambridge. We came into existence last year, all of us passionate about the care of the environment and social justice. Why now? The COVID crisis has highlighted significant weaknesses of our society's existing approach. The first is fragility of our economic system. The second is social inequality. And the third, the effects of overexploitation of land and resources, with the destruction of the environment and loss of biodiversity, and the climate crisis. So what is Doughnut Economics? The term refers to a book called that by Kate Raworth, an Oxford economist. She writes about ways to meet the needs of all people within the means of a planet, an economy fit for the 21st century. So what are we asking to do? Build the city portrait. We envisage a world that operates within the Earth's capacity, protects the natural environment and meets the social and economic needs of all people. We would like to start by co-creating a city portrait that will reveal the extent to which this vision has been realised or not. The donut, which is a ring-shaped one, can be used as a striking visual representation for this portrait. The outer ring represents the ecological ceiling and the inner one the social foundation. The ecological ceiling shows 9 planetary boundaries as defined by Earth scientists, such as air pollution, carbon emissions, waste generation, etc. The social foundation is based on the United Nations SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and includes 16 domains such as access to housing, nutritious food, income and jobs, as well as social equity, political voice, and equality and diversity. The city portrait will provide an accessible, interactive visual image on a digital platform, which will demonstrate the extent to which the ecological ceiling is breached and the extent of any shortfall below the social foundation. In other words, we need to be in the sweet spot of the donut. CamDEAG would like to help co-create a city portrait for Cambridge City, working with the council, residents, local organisations and businesses. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Davey, I guess you're responding to that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Paul, for your question. My name's Mike Davey. I'm the Executive Councillor for Finance and Resources. And can I start by welcoming your question? The work of Kate Raworth is one of the most interesting and exciting developments in social and economic thinking for many years. And how we apply that, though, as you can guess, is set within the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has changed much about how we live, how we see our city, and how we see our communities. And why it's particularly relevant is that more people have been facing uncertainty, unemployment, and economic hardship. And the differences that people have affects different communities differentially and has exacerbated inequality within our city. And we therefore need to try and face this accordingly. The council, with its partners, has worked hard to ensure that we support those in need. We have worked to support business and employers through a number of issues around and phases of economic disruption, and we need to harness the energies of the whole community. We will therefore continue to work with residents and community groups and in the business community and across partners to build and ensure a strong, green and inclusive recovery. We accept that the principle of Doughnut Economics and the model of economic development supported by CamDEAG offer a way to protect the most vulnerable in society, whilst at the same time staying within the environmental limits consistent with sustainability and tackling the climate emergency. As a council, we've already committed ourselves to explore the potential of this to help us understand our local economy and make better decisions that improve people's lives without costing us the planet. CamDEAG is therefore and clearly part of that process, and we appreciate the contribution that you make. And I know that my colleague, Councillor Thornborough, is already an active and engaged participation in the group, especially around the city portrait, which will be an impressive addition to the data we hold. Therefore, the simple answer to your question is that we will continue to work with your group and others to ensure that our plan for economic recovery addresses both social inequalities and environmental limits, within environmental limits. I hope that you accept our belief in the principle of the Doughnut Economics, and that we will want to do this, though in a thorough and inclusive way that will require sufficient time and officer capacity as we seek to respond and move from the public health emergency. So whilst it's important to stress our commitment, it's also important to stress that that has to be done within finite resources. And I think it'd be fair to say that we would be keen to report back to the relevant committee, which is probably Strategy and Resources, by the autumn if possible, and therefore look forward to how we might work with you in the future. But in the meantime, we do commit ourselves to working with you on the city portrait. Thank you, Paul.